Hello everyone. This is a new series that I'm starting, and it's going to be my first ever YouTube video, first ever YouTube series. So I hope it's okay. I'm going to be documenting the development process for RADROD Realm of Dragonia, from the coding to how I personally manage a project. So hopefully by the end of the video, if you have an interest in developing on the Roblox platform, you'll have some idea of how to get started creating a professional project. I'm going to be talking about a multitude of programs and websites that I use to just help organise my projects and just make my life 10 times easier. So I'm just going to be, swiftly going over these, and I'm going to be going into more detail on how I set these up in the next video. So I'm starting here on episode -1 because I'm not going to be working on RADROD Realm of Dragonia in this video or the next video. So if you want to get straight to that part, go watch episode 1 if it's out when you're watching this, obviously. So we're going to be discussing my coding practices, external libraries I use, how I do assets for my games, how to creating them or just getting them online, how I implement analytics for my games, so kind of tracking how many times a person uses an item or something, and error tracking and just general planning for the project. So just to start off swiftly, I just wanted to include a baseline for organisations. I'm just going to show you two of my previous projects and how they kind of works out in terms of organisation. So most of you probably hear from RADROD Rebirth. So here's a studio look at it. Ooh. So you can see in the workspace here, it's not too bad. I've got everything in folders at least. But when we get over to the code here, it's not nice. You really shouldn't be using more than a couple scripts in your game. You want to be using module scripts and then just using 1 or 2 scripts to call your module scripts. If you have zero idea of the difference between a script and a module script, I'll leave a link to that or link to the wiki about that. And then again, for my client side code, I've put it in the starter GUI for some reason. It's just not great. And then this was about a year and a half ago, so I've improved a lot since then. So no, I don't want to save that. So we can go over to Explosion Simulator here, which is like my second game that I've released. So here you can see that I've got a much more organised setup. So I've separated all my different modules into their specific types of classes. Again, if you're not familiar with classes, I'm going to leave a link to Roblox object oriented programming, which I personally think is like the way to be organising your games, because it just lets you be 10 times more organised with it. So in both of these projects, there's a lot of features that had extremely poor organisation. So I mean, this is quite decent, but it started going towards I'd be writing code and I wouldn't be creating functions. I'd just have the same bit of code in 3 different parts of my game, which it's not good practice. So you're not going to be creating the best, most organised, amazing project from the get-go. There's a lot of trial and error and just practice involved. So I've been developing for a year and a half, and even still there's stuff I'm learning every day. So you just need to get used to working in studio and being familiar with the Roblox API. For those who the word API has just gone completely over your head and means nothing to. It stands for Application Programming Interface. So what that means is it's an interface for I guess coding in Roblox, and because Roblox has parts and models, and these are all types of instances, and instances are, don't want to go into too much detail. I'll do that more next video. But like, if you do want to get started developing, it's just practice, and looking at other people's work and trying to create things that you want to create. Don't start off complicated, start off simple. So how am I going to be doing RADROD Realm of Dragonia differently to these previous projects? Now there's 2 main differences, and that is, I'm not going to be coding in Roblox Studio, I'm going to be coding in VS Code. And I'm not just going to be creating my own system. I'm actually going to be using an already created framework, the Aero game framework. So the Aero game framework is a framework created by Crazyman32, and he's got a whole video series on this, so I'll just leave that in the description. And this basically, it just allows you to organize your code on the server and the client side, define things that they can share, or things that you don't want the client to get access to, and then services are things that run immediately, and then modules only run when you reference them. That's a whole thing. I'll leave Crazyman32 to describe that stuff for you. But VS Code is where it's at. I'm telling you right now, if you're coding in Roblox Studio, you need to stop. You need to go to VS Code, because it just allows you to be so much more organized with your code. Because even though you see, I've got a bit of a weird hierarchy system here, because I mean I've hooked up the Aero game framework into Roblox Studio. So obviously services and modules is just going to be everything that's in services and modules. But then you can also separate your own thing. So I've got my classes here that are technically still modules, but I've just separated them on VS Code just for readability, really. And then one of the other great things about VS Code is it allows you to have these things called snippets. So I'll show you quickly what I mean by this. So for example, here I have a snippet that's a Roblox object, and the snippet prefix is Roblox class. Basically what that means is when I type Roblox class, it's just going to paste this body here. Okay, so Roblox class, bosh, there we go. We've got all the stuff here, and it just puts it in there. It kind of pulls the file name and just puts that in there for us. So if you don't have any idea what's going on here, I've got some of my own stuff that I've added, but if we're talking about just the basic layout of it, we'll just do this local self equals. There we go. Oh, dearie me. There we go. Right. So this will be much more familiar to you when you have a look at the Roblox object orientated programming post on the dev forum, which again I've linked in the description. So then those are the two major things, and in terms of other things that I use for my projects, I use Zapsplat for just general audio. So with any assets you get online, if you're going to be using them in a project, you have to be careful with licensing, because obviously if you take someone's image, put it in your game, and you make money from that game, that there's copyright involved there and stuff. And if you're going to be using something for commercial use, you might have to get more than just a standard license, because standard license is for just private use or whatever. So that's audio. Graphics wise, I don't do a lot of graphics. I usually hire people to do graphics for me, and then where I find people to do this for me is that I'll either go to the dev forum, or there's I'll put a invite link in the description for this Discord. But I have hidden developers, and this is a very, very nice Discord server that they have a nice system in place for hiring people and how to contact you and stuff, payment, etc. So I think this is like the best place to get started when you want to find other developers to collaborate with. And then the last couple of things we've got here is Google Analytics. So this allows you to track certain things in your game. So there's the basic stuff like people joining, people leaving, servers starting. But then, this is for Explosion Simulator, this specific example. But then you can actually define your own events. So in the game, there's very simple leveling system. So when someone levels up, it sends an event to this Google Analytics page, and it comes up here, and you can have a look at a nice little graph if it loads. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. So we can see that not many people played on Tuesday, but then or just didn't level up. So then, where's it gone? I'll have to open this up again. Games a bit. Oh, it's not here. I'm gonna have to Google it. Here we go. Right, so here we have Sentry. So now what Sentry does is a very, very nice error tracking system. So again, this is for Explosion Simulator. Here we can see that whenever an error occurs in the game, it will send it to Sentry. And so you can see the amount of times each error has occurred, how many different people it's occurred to, and then you can see the kind of trends stuff, and when you go to click on it, you see the trace back where the error actually came from. And this is so useful, because when you're testing a game and there's only a couple of people, 5-10 people, there might be some bugs that don't come up that would when you have 1,000, 2,000 people going on. So this is like you must have this. This and hack and plan I use for actually planning the project. Now I haven't actually got stuck into this at all, but it's just it allows you to when you have an idea, or there's something you want to implement, you write that down as a planned idea. Then when you're working on it, put it in there. It's very self-explanatory. And then just the last thing I'm going to talk about here is different libraries. So what a library is I guess it's a lot of code and a lot of functions that someone else has written that you can just hook into. So I've implemented Rowstrap here into my workflow, and so it just gives you lots of stuff here that you can just immediately call into, and it's already there. So one of the main things is it has a Sentry module, which allows you just to easily hook into Sentry here. So I'm definitely going to be making use of that. There's different maths things. So if you wanted a game that has levels and XP, they have a leveler API here that does it all for you. It's only got one function. It's very easy to use. So that about covers everything I wanted to cover in this video. So I'd still call myself a bit of a newbie, bit of a rookie when it comes to developing, because I'm learning every day. So if there's some things I skipped on, apologies. Also further down the line, I'm going to be getting involved with some new stuff. So I might be getting involved with Blender 3D, which is a 3D modeling software. So I might be getting into that, for the dragon models and stuff. But I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be doing the dragon modeling myself. So if you want to get involved or contribute with the project it could be through suggestions, or if you just want to do a bit of fan art, or if you actually wanted to get involved in the development process, like you want to do some modeling or some graphic design, hit me up, let me know. You can contact me very easily through Discord. I'll put my business email in the description as well, just in case there's anyone else. So everything I've mentioned in this video, I've got links in the description down there for you if you want to have a look at it or set it up for yourself. And so next episode, we're going to be cracking on with setting up our project. So I think the main focus for that is going to be working in VS Code, because obviously, how does this program link to this program? I haven't explained that. I will be explaining that in the next video. So I already have most of the stuff set up, but I'm just going to be explaining how to do it if you want to learn the basics, and you want to do something yourself. But if you're not bothered about that, you just want to see how I'm developing the game, you can just go to episode 1, and we'll actually be cracking on with doing some code and creating some fun stuff.